Now sometimes we can't graph the particular function that we want to find the range of. For example, we're going to be doing this example with a past paper question. As you can see here, this is the particular past paper that I'm looking at, and this is question 10. State the range of this function 8 over x minus 2 plus 2 for x is greater than 2. So if I just rewrite this here, this is y is equal to 8 over x minus 2 plus 2, and the restricted domain is x is greater than 2. In case you haven't noticed, this is the restricted domain, not the natural domain. So we want to find the range of this function. Now, this is a rational function. The method that I'm going to teach you here, it's a method that works for every single rational function that you will get at this level. So whenever you want to find the range of a rational function, remember, like I said, a rational function is basically a function with a numerator and a denominator. That's the simplest way I can explain that to you. We want to find the range of this function. We can't sketch this function because it's a rational function. We can, but we don't, you don't know how to. So what do we do in this case? Well, if we want to find the range of a rational function, we have to inspect the domain. Now, the domain of this function is x should be greater than 2. What that means is we can plug in any number, in this function as long as that number is greater than 2. As long as that number is greater than 2. So your values of x are constantly going to be bigger and bigger and bigger. You can plug in the biggest number you can plug into this function. Because x is greater than 2, x is just going to keep on increasing. You can plug in 20, 2,000, 20,000, 200,000, 2 million, 20 million, 200 million, 2 billion, and so on and so on and so forth. You can plug in any value that you want to plug in. Now I'm gonna split this particular video into about 2 or 3 videos because the concept I need to explain is a bit heavy. Now, if we want to, sketch, if we want to find the range of this particular function, like I said, we have to inspect the domain. So what we're trying to inspect is, as x increases and increases and increases, what's happening to the y value of this function? As we plug in certain values of x, what's happening to the y value of this function? Because if we can figure out what's happening to the y value of this function, we can figure out the range of this function. Because like we said before, the range of this function is simply telling us what can the y value of this function be. Because the range of any function is telling us what are the possible values that our y can be. If I look at this function, the domain tells us the possible values that x can be. So the range of this function will tell us the possible values that y can be. So if we want to figure out the range of this function, we are trying to figure out what are the possible y values that can happen. But if we want to know what the possible y values can be, we have to use the x values, because the y values are dependent on the x values. If we can figure out what the x values are, we can then figure out what the y values are. So if we understand what's happening to the x values, we will then understand what's happening to the y values. And if we understand what's happening to the y values, then that will tell us the range. For example, let's say the range was y is greater than 8. Let's say, this is not the actual range, but let's say the range was y is greater than 8. What this means is the y values are increasing and increasing and increasing, but they'll always be greater than 8. So to find the range of a function, we just want to understand what's happening to the y values. That tells us the range. But if we want to understand what's happening to the y values, we have to use the x values because the x values are what give us the y values. So we have to do an inspection using the domain so that we understand what's happening to the range. So in the next video, I will then begin inspection using these x values to determine the range. And then I will show you a simplified way of doing this using the concept of infinity. So this is the first part on this example. This is the introduction on this example, finding the range of this function. Until next time, take care.